The horizon burned red as the sun sank, painting the Wyoming plains in fire and shadow. Clara Bennett stood beside her rusted pickup, its hood propped open like a broken jaw, steam hissing into the dusk. Her hands, smudged with grease, gripped a wrench so tightly her knuckles whitened. Frustration clawed at her chest, another breakdown. Another delay, and the ranch still 10 miles off. Her phone was dead. The coyotes were already yipping, and the weight of running Silver Hollow alone pressed harder than the heat. She muttered a curse, kicking the tire. When a low voice cut through the haze. Reckon you need a mechanic more than a miracle. But I might could manage either. Clara spun, heart lurching. A man sat astride a black gelding, his silhouette sharp against the fading light. He was tall. His denim shirt faded to the color of the dust that clung to him. A battered Stetson shaded his eyes. But she caught a glint of something steady, unyielding. He didn't smile, didn't move, just watched her with a calm that felt like it could anchor a storm. Her pulse steadied, but suspicion tightened her grip on the wrench. Depends what you're selling, she said, voice sharp to mask the flicker of relief. He nudged the horse closer, dismounting with a grace that spoke of years in the saddle. Left my miracles in the last town, but I know my way around an engine. Mind if I take a look? Clara hesitated. The sky was bruising purple, and she was stranded. She nodded, stepping back but keeping the wrench in hand. He moved to the truck, his boots crunching softly on gravel, and leaned over the engine like it was an old friend. She studied him calloused hands, a faint scar across one knuckle. No rush in his movements. He was a stranger, but something about him felt like the land itself. Worn, Weston one, enduring, name's Luke, he said without looking up. Just Luke. She crossed her arms, the wrench still a shield. He glanced at her, a half smile tugging his lips. For now, Clara didn't know if that was enough. But the silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was the kind that let her breathe. She watched him work, the way his fingers moved with precision, wiping grease on a rag pulled from his saddlebag. The sun dipped lower, and the air grew sharp with the promise of night. You live out here? She asked, more to keep her mind off the darkening road. Passing through, he said, checking the radiator hose. Close enough to know the land, far enough to keep moving. She frowned, unsure what that meant but too tired to press. After 20 minutes, he straightened, wiping his hands on his jeans. Radiator shot. You'll need a tow harrow one shard, just shard. Got a place nearby. Clara sighed, the weight of the day settling deeper. My ranch, Eatsford. 10 miles west. I've got a trailer and another truck there. If you can help me hitch it, I'll owe you dinner. Luke tipped his hat slightly. Deal. It took an hour to rig the truck to his horse. Clara's gear stuffed into his saddlebag. She walked beside him at first, stubborn pride keeping her on her feet. But when the chill bit through her jacket, he insisted she ride. She climbed up behind him, awkward, trying not to lean too close. His warmth was a quiet comfort, but she kept her hands light on his waist. Her thoughts tangled with the stranger who'd appeared like a ghost from the dust. Silver Hollow's wooden sign greeted them at the ranch's edge, its faded letters glowing faintly under the porch lights. The horses in the pasture lifted their heads, curious but unbothered. Luke helped unhitch the truck in silence, his movements steady as ever. Clara, you're walking worse, sir no modern. Exhaustion tugging at her bones, gestured toward the barn. You any good with tools? Got a busted gate and a leaky roof if you're looking for work. He glanced at her, eyes shadowed but kind. A few days of research, then I'll move on. She nodded, unsure why that answer stung. A few days. Inside the small kitchen, Clara set a plate of beef stew and cornbread before him. Luke, freshly showered but still in his weathered clothes, ate with a gratitude that didn't beg for more. She watched him over her glass of water, curiosity warring with caution. You ever settle anywhere? He shook his head, his voice low. Not in years. Running from something, she asked, half teasing, half serious. Toward quiet, he said, and the simplicity of it caught her off guard. The wind rattled the windows, and Clara felt a shiver that wasn't from the cold. She offered him the bunkhouse, and he accepted with a quiet thank you, stepping into the moonlight. As she locked the door, her brow furrowed. Luke was kind, capable, but distant like a man carrying a weight he wouldn't share. A drifter, or non-Irna, she thought. And one of the old kind. She pushed the thought away and turned off the lights. A crash woke her before dawn, sharp and jarring. The horses screamed from the barn. Clara's heart pounded as she grabbed the rifle by the door, threw on her boots, and ran. The night was thick, the air alive with panic. She saw shadows moving, 3 figures, one already inside the barn, its door hanging loose. A grunt, a thud. She raised the rifle, hands trembling. But then Luke appeared, moving like a predator. He grabbed one man, slammed him against a post. Another charge, Luke sidestepped, drove a fist into his ribs, and swept his legs in a move too clean for a cowboy. The third man fled. Clara reached him, breathless. "You okay?" "Better question for them," Luke said, nodding at the groaning men on the ground. He checked the stalls, calming the horses with a low whistle. "Who are you?" she demanded, rifle still in hand. He met her eyes, steady but guarded. "Just Luke." Clara's stomach twisted. She didn't believe him anymore. By morning, Luke had repaired the barn door, reinforced the stalls, and fixed the feed shed's hinges. Clara watched from the porch, paperwork forgotten, a pencil dangling from her lips. His hands were steady, his focus absolute, no wasted effort. No need to prove anything. It unnerved her. How he could be so capable yet so closed off. She waited until he hammered the last nail before approaching. "Thanks, Shamarihim," she said, voice tight. "For last night," he nodded, splashing water on his face from the trough. "You get much trouble out here. Sometimes, land like this draws vultures." She folded her arms. "You learned to throw a punch like that in a bar fight." "Not exactly." His voice was even, but his eyes flicked away. "You move like you've been trained." She pressed. He dried his face, meeting her gaze. "You trust me enough to let me stay. That was before you took down 2 men like it was nothing." Her voice sharpened. "It's hard to trust someone who won't say a damn thing about themselves." Luke looked out over the pasture, the wind tugging at the grass. "Sometimes people lose things," he said softly, "and they don't want to talk about them." Clara's jaw tightened, but the crack in his voice stopped her. She nodded once. "You've earned a few more nights. That's all I'm saying." He gave a small nod. "That's all I need." Over the next few days, Luke became part of the ranch's rhythm. He was up before dawn, feeding horses, patching fences, calming Clara's wildest mare, Sachi Yowan Kaninosh, with a patience that bordered on reverence. Clara watched him, trying to piece together the puzzle of who he was. She asked about his past, where he grew up, why he wandered, but his answers were vague, like smoke slipping through her fingers. Still, there was a warmth in his presence, a quiet strength that made the ranch feel less lonely. One evening, they sat on the porch, the sky fading from gold to indigo. Clara broke the silence. "My dad used to say land's only as good as the hands that work it." Luke nodded, his gaze on the horizon. "You believe that?" "I believe land remembers who stays and who runs." She tilted her head. "Which are you?" He looked at her, eyes honest but heavy. "I built once, then I ran, still figuring out which wins." Her chest tightened. "You good with horses because you love them or because they don't ask questions?" He chuckled, soft and low, little of both. "You ever think about staying?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. He turned to her, slower this time. "Would it matter if I did?" Clara's breath caught. "I don't let people in easy." "Me neither." Their eyes met, a spark of understanding passing between them, no promises. Just two people wondering if this time could be different. Then a truck's rumble shattered the quiet. Clara stood, tension snapping into her shoulders. "That's Travis." "Timmy." Luke watched her face harden. "Problem for na reunions." "Big one." The truck pulled up in a cloud of dust, its engine growling. Travis Colton stepped out, tall and polished, his tailored shirt out of place in the dirt. His smile was all charm, but his eyes were cold. Clara's stomach churned. Travis, her ex-months, who'd been pressuring her to sell the ranch for months. "Clara," he said, striding toward the porch. "Heard your truck broke down. Thought I'd offer a hand." "Too late," she said flatly. "Someone already helped." Travis's eyes flicked to Luke, who leaned against the porch post, unmoving but alert. "Friend of yours. He's helping out," Clara said. "That's all you need to know." Travis chuckled, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. "I figured you'd be ready to talk business. The offer still stands." "It never stood," she snapped. "You just keep pretending it did." He stepped closer, voice low. "You're one bad season from losing this place. I can fix that." Luke straightened. "You threatening her?" Travis turned, sizing him up. You don't know who you're talking to. Luke's smile was cold. No. Continue. But I know the type. Enough, went on Moss, Clara said, stepping between them. Teresa won. Leave the refound. Travis, he smirked, backing off. You'll regret this. Clara, you always do. He climbed into his truck and peeled out, dust swirling in his wake. Luke watched him go. You okay? Clara nodded, but her fists were clenched. He won't stop. Then neither will I, Luke said, and the steel in his voice made her believe him. That night, Clara couldn't sleep. She checked the locks, paced the fence line, jumped at every creak. Luke sat in the barn, sharpening a knife, eyes on the door. Just past midnight, a metallic bang rang out. The horses panicked. Clara grabbed her rifle, but Luke was already moving, tackling two hooded men trying to unchain the stalls. He disarmed one, knocked out the other, his movements precise, lethal. Clara arrived, panting. They're Travis's men. Luke pulled a note from one man's pocket, a map of her ranch. Sage's stall marked. They were after your mare. Hurt her. Hurt your reputation. Clara's blood ran cold. He's trying to break me. You're not alone, Luke said. And for the first time, she believed it. The next morning, Clara found an old box in the loft papers. Deeds. An envelope labeled W. Well. Her center. Caldwell. Her heart stopped. William Lucas Caldwell. The man who'd owned half Wyoming's oil and land before vanishing after his wife's death in a car crash. She Googled him, and there he was. Younger, dramatically sharper, to measure on the instruments. But those same steady eyes. Luke was no drifter. He was a ghost with an empire. She confronted him in the pasture, papers in hand, betrayal burning her throat. You lied to me. I didn't lie, he said quietly. I just didn't tell you. You let me think you were nobody. Her voice shook. You're William Caldwell, and you let me trust you. I never asked you to, he said, not unkindly. But you did. Why hide it? She demanded. Because I built something I thought would last forever, he said, voice raw. When it broke, I had nothing left but silence. Clara's anger faltered. You said you were running toward peace, but you're still running. I know, he said, and I'm sorry. She turned away, tears stinging. I don't know who you are anymore. Clara left before dawn, driving to town, needing space from the man who'd become more than a stranger, but less than a truth. At a roadside inn, she heard whispers Travis was buying land, forcing families out. A newspaper confirmed it. He was targeting Silver Hollow next. Clara realized she'd walked away from the one man who could stop him. She drove back at dawn. Luke was in the barn, brushing sage. Arim, der Kushaikawan, as if nothing had changed. I read the news. Shui Tisuri, she said. Travis is coming for everything. He nodded. He's moving fast. I walked away. She admitted. But I'm back. I need you, not just the man with a wrench. I need William Caldwell. His eyes softened. You've got me. Both of me. They planned. Luke's old connections and wealth fueled illegal fight filings. Injunctions. Proof of Travis's shell companies. At a town meeting, Luke stood before ranchers and farmers. His voice steady. I haven't given you reason to trust me. But Travis's offer isn't business. It's theft. Turkinanon, stand with us, and I'll cover the costs, one by one. They signed on. That night, Travis's men came trucks, flashlights, threats in Enum. Threats, Luke faced him. Shotgun ready. Back off. Travis sneered. Paperwork won't stop me. Witnesses will, Luke said as sirens wailed. Clara stepped out. Rifle aimed. Leave. External Hanefrenbun. Travis, he lunged. Clara fired, grazing his side. His men fled, and the sheriff arrested him. Weapons. Assault. Trespassing. The war wasn't over, but the first battle was theirs. A year later, Silver Hollow was reborn as Caldwell Ridge, a nonprofit for equine therapy. Clara stood on the porch. Their daughter, the son, Lila Wanawari Yibum, asleep against her chest. Luke walked beside a boy leading Sage, his steps slow, purposeful. They'd built something quiet, true. He pulled out a simple ring, etched with Clara's mother's words. Come home. I haven't loved in years, he said. Not like this. Clara nodded, tears falling. Yes. They rode up the ridge. Lila safe between them, the land alive with hope. They'd lost much but built more, not with power, but with love, choosing each other every day. Thank you for listening to this heartfelt tale. If it touched your soul, please like and share, subscribe and ring the bell to join One Kind Moment for more stories of love and redemption. Until next time, keep the stories alive.